after, my husband was put into a job squeeze, and pretty soon he was squeezed right out of a job altogether, and we were unemployed. He then landed a job fairly quickly, which was good, and he became the project manager for a master plan community in San Clemente. And despite a no-growth moratorium on the project, he was able to complete the project in time at a profit. And this earned him the reputation of being a golden boy, okay? Well, there was another project in the Inland Empire, in Temecula specifically, that needed a golden boy. The project was in trouble. So this got David the job. And we landed what we called our dream job. We were so thrilled to be able to go there. And we moved our family out to this area where we had no family, just us. We rented out our home in Huntington Beach, and we packed up our children, as I said, and we moved to Temecula. And about a year later, David learned why this project needed a dream boy. It had been struggling because the financial partner, David worked for the managing partner, but the financial partner had been doing some illegal things. And shortly, about a year, I'd say, after we moved to Temecula, the project was seized on 7 counts of fraud. Well, we quickly learned that our dream job was indeed a dream, more accurately characterized as a nightmare. And we also learned what Ken Blanchard says, and that's that CEO does not stand for Chief Executive Officer. It stands for career-ending opportunity. And it was. At this point, we had no income, not from the sale of my business, which we were counting on, and not from my husband. And we had paid top dollar to buy our house in Temecula. Our Huntington Beach house was rented, and as I said, this was in the early 90s. Now we're up to actually 1991. Now remember, we'd moved away from family. We had no support in the Inland Empire at this point. We had no family to support us in terms of watching our children so that we could go look for work. It was a very difficult time just from that standpoint, and neither did our family have any ability to help us financially. The newly constructed homes and businesses in the Inland Empire became what we called see-through buildings, because the foreclosure rate was so great in the residential homes in the Riverside County then, and businesses that had moved to the Inland Empire because they were struggling financially decided to go back to San Diego or Los Angeles, wherever their headquarters offices were. So we had a lot of see-through buildings in the early 90s. My husband and I did everything we could to help ourselves financially. We sold our house in Huntington Beach and lived on that money for a little while. We were forced to sell everything we could live without. We even cashed in our children's savings bonds before they matured. Did everything we possibly could, but ultimately, unable to find gainful employment, we lost our home to foreclosure. We lost everything except our furniture, our clothing, and one car, that 1984 Volvo. And it seriously looked like we'd be living in that 1984 Volvo, because who would rent to an unemployed family of 4, even without pets? Well, gratefully, someone that we knew felt badly for us, and they actually gave us the car that they formerly towed behind their motorhome. And I was grateful, because now we'd have 2 cars to live in if we needed to. But I want to describe this car to you. It was a 1978 Mercury Bobcat, the color of butterscotch pudding, inside and out. But it didn't matter to me. We needed that car. My husband looked for work to do anything he could. He could not find gainful employment. He was only able to find 3 part-time jobs. In the morning, he worked as a school crossing guard. In the midday, he would deliver flowers, sometimes to people who used to work for him. And at night, he worked for a tow truck company, a graveyard shift. He did everything he possibly could. I worked weekends while he could be home with the children. Now, do you think that might have been a little humbling for my husband, a CEO type who was definitely a 6-figure income earner, and for myself to go through all that? You bet it was. Very humbling. We were accustomed to being the people who would give to help others. Now we were in a place where we needed to receive. I know what it feels like. I want to help you on the emotional side of things, on the practical side of things, and on the spiritual side of things, because you can avoid many of the problems that my husband and I suffered if you're willing to receive what I have to share with you today. And I don't have to tell you that it's very stressful. And I know that that kind of stress can adversely impact your life, your physical health, certainly your marriage, your family, and other relations, because being under or unemployed has a whole lot more problems than just a lack of income. If you have not yet dealt with the negative emotional and mental impact of being under and unemployed, you're not going to ace that interview. Brad Rimmelard is one of our sponsors today. He owns Impact Hiring Solutions. He's a retained recruiter, and he has said he's seen it time and time again that men and women think that they're putting on the game face. They think that they're really presenting their best self in an interview, but it's very evident that they are in turmoil. So we've got to concentrate on the emotional and the mental aspects first. That's got to be the first order of business. Don't worry, though, this will not be a group therapy session, and I'm not a counselor of any kind. But I am someone who has gone through it, and I want to help others go through it much better than my husband and I did. Many people try to downplay or ignore their emotional and mental response, which actually works against them. So please keep that in mind. If you have the inclination to want to deny your feelings and ignore them and hope that they'll go away, they will actually work against you. Trying to avoid or deny your emotions and your mental impact of being under and unemployed will work against you. So if you'll turn to page 5 in your workbooks, you'll find a sheet where you can take notes specific to this first session. There's a loss of dignity. There's a sense of loss of contribution. There's a sense of being insignificant. Am I hitting the marks here, people? Yeah. There's a whole lot more that goes with losing a job. And your personal reaction to what you're going through actually depends upon your personality, your role in the home, whether or not you were the primary breadwinner, where you have your source of personal identity. There's a lot of things that determine how you react to what you're going through. But let's see if you agree with what you'll see up on the screen next. For a man, the loss of a job can be devastating to his identity, his sense of self-worth, and his self-respect. If his income is the primary income, a job loss may cause his wife to negatively react out of fear due to loss of security. She may blame him for something that may not be his fault. He already has a bruised and deflated ego. His sense of pride and his most important emotional need, respect, is suffering. Her reactions to him will define their future relationship for a long time to come. Do you agree with that? Guys? Okay? All right. For a woman, the loss of her job undermines her greatest emotional need, which is security. If she is the primary earner, her security is now threatened, and negative thoughts of losing the house or insurmountable financial burdens will lead to stress. Often a woman forms close personal relationships with coworkers. A sudden job loss may feel like an unexpected loss of a loved one because the emotional support from her coworkers is severed or strained. Ladies, am I hitting the mark on that? Yeah. For both men and women, job loss will reflect our personal value. It may be argued that we put too much value on external things, the image of a job, and not enough on the internal dignity and value of being a human being. Yet it is hard to see or feel dignity when your source of income is removed. There is no simple solution. A job loss will cause stress. Many researchers rank the stress of job loss with post-traumatic stress found in combat. But I want you to think about it. What employer would jump at the chance to hire an angry, mentally preoccupied, insecure, depressed person who is completely unaware of their own sorry mental and emotional state? What employer would hire an individual like that? Brad Remillard has said he's seen them in interviews. They think that they're putting on the game face, but he can see the anguish that they're dealing with inside. So with that said, please open your workbooks now on page 6, and let's look at a couple of descriptions of what it feels like to lose a job. Becoming under or unemployed is like being broadsided by a Mack truck. You're sent reeling, severely damaged, spinning without knowing when you will stop or where you will end up. Anybody agree with that? All right, here's another one. Unemployment is like suffering a critical illness for which there is a known cure, but it's not readily available, such as waiting for an organ from a donor. You're suffering. Gainful employment exists, but not for you, not right now. Well, I hope I've communicated to you that just getting a job is not going to solve all of your problems. You'll be taking that emotional and mental baggage with you into the workplace.